At the press conference for the launch of my new product line, a reporter asked me, "Mr. Anderson, you and your wife have been married for more than 10 years, yet your love still seems as passionate as the beginning. What's your secret to keeping the flame alive?" I only replied with 2 words, guilt. Back then, when my wife came to my side, I was nothing but a penniless man. In her prime years, she had to live with me in a cramped rented apartment, surviving on instant noodles. I always carried that feeling of guilt in my heart, always remembering her unwavering loyalty, never leaving me. I swore to myself I would treat my wife well for the rest of my life. The next day, that interview immediately climbed to the top of the trending searches. I looked at my assistant, sleeping soundly in my arms, and a faint smile tugged at my lips. A thought flashed through my mind: I had to buy Emily a very expensive gift later, just to make up for the guilt I felt from last night. The following morning, all the trending searches were about me. Young entrepreneur Daniel Anderson reveals the secret to a lasting marriage. CEO Anderson, the model husband. Daniel Anderson is the role model of every successful man. Turning the hardships of the past into guilt devoted to his wife, this man is truly remarkable. Where can I pray to meet a man like Mr. Anderson? I couldn't help but laugh. These netizens were so endearing. The woman beside me furrowed her brows in her sleep, lips trembling as if she was about to cry. I pulled her into my arms, gently soothing her, that primal instinct to protect stirring powerfully within me. But this feeling, I had never once experienced it with my wife, Emily. She was always a strong woman. Years ago, when we struggled in New York, squeezed into a rented room of barely 100 square feet, with no money to eat, we survived on expired instant noodles. There were times I wanted to give up and return home. But it was Emily who insisted we stay, working multiple jobs at once to support the both of us. She never stopped encouraging me to pursue my path in game development. She ran around finding clients, promoting the little games I created. One angel investor once told me, it was because he saw Emily's strength and unwavering determination that he decided to invest. I can honestly say, without Emily, there would be no me today. Thinking of that, a fresh wave of guilt rose in my chest. I gently shook the woman still sleeping soundly beside me. Samantha rubbed her eyes, lifted her head to look at me, and asked sleepily, "Danny, you're awake already?" I handed her a credit card. "Later, go to the jewelry store and buy my wife a heart-shaped necklace, the newest design this year. As for you, pick whatever you like." Samantha bit her lip, eyes clouded with grievance, and asked softly, "Was it because I didn't satisfy you last night?" Samantha asked softly, "The moment you wake up, you're already thinking about her. What do I lack compared to your wife? I'm younger, prettier, and Enough." I slid off the bed and walked into the bathroom, leaving behind only one sentence. "What we have is fine as it is. Don't start having thoughts you shouldn't." Samantha was once a poor student I had sponsored. For years ago, when my company first began to find its footing, my alma mater invited me back to give a speech. In the crowd, I immediately noticed that frail girl. She looked very much like Emily did in her youth, except her eyes carried far more sorrow. After making inquiries, I learned that her family was struggling, and she had to take out loans just to afford tuition. I personally stepped in to sponsor her education. Emily knew about this. She even supported my decision, saying it was a way of giving back to society. From then on, Samantha and I rarely kept in touch. Until half a year ago, when she graduated and applied to work at my company as an assistant, that's when we became close again. She told me that my help was something she could never repay, except with her body. Compared to 4 years ago, her innocence had long since faded. She had matured, perhaps because my money had raised her into comfort. I also felt it was time to accept some form of repayment. Honestly, Emily had taken very good care of herself. Even in her 30s, her figure was still voluptuous and alluring. I once believed there wasn't much difference between them. But the body of youth was indeed something else. That first night with Samantha was like an addiction. I couldn't pull myself away. I felt as though I had returned to my 20s, filled with raw vitality, taking her again and again, 3 times in one night. Eventually, I stopped even using protection. When it was all over, she collapsed into my arms, crying like a fragile blossom battered by the rain. "Danny, I'm scared. What if I end up pregnant?" she whispered through tears. In that tender moment, I held her tightly and comforted her. "It's okay. If you get pregnant, I'll divorce my wife and marry you." Those words only moved her more deeply. "Danny, everyone says you and your wife never had children. So you don't actually hate kids. Maybe you just love me more than you love her." I didn't reply. Instead, I silenced her with a kiss, because I knew, in truth, she could never get pregnant. With Samantha, I could let down all my guardrails and completely indulge in pleasure. But it would always remain confined to the bed. The moment I stepped away, the woman I loved most was, and always would be, my wife. That evening, I took the necklace with me and drove to Emily's flower shop. She never liked being idle at home, and with her special love for plants and flowers, she had opened a small, charming flower boutique. Her taste was exquisite, her beauty timeless, and her manner, gentle, refined. Customers from blocks all around loved stopping by Emily's shop to buy flowers. I stood outside the door for a long time, watching her busy helping customers, recommending arrangements, wrapping bouquets, and carefully writing cards. Her face was glowing with a smile full of happiness. I even overheard a familiar older lady complimenting her. "Emily, you're truly blessed. Today your husband was trending online again, showing off his love for you." Emily smiled modestly. "You're teasing me again, ma'am." When she stepped outside, she caught sight of me standing there. I opened my arms, and she immediately ran into them, hugging me tightly around the waist. "Didn't you say your flight wasn't until 10? Why are you back so early?" "I was planning to close the shop early to meet you at the airport." I inhaled the sweet fragrance of her hair, leaned close to her ear, and whispered, "I missed you too much." As soon as I finished my work, I came straight back. She laughed and playfully tapped my chest. "We've been married so many years, yet you still cling to me like this. If my employees find out, aren't you afraid they'll laugh at you?" she teased. "You're my wife. Why would I be afraid of anything?" I replied. I pulled out the necklace, placed it around her neck, then stepped back a few paces to admire her. "Yes, this necklace suits you perfectly." Emily touched it gently, her lips curving into a smile. "Why so sudden, this little surprise?" "Mr. Anderson," a familiar voice called from the right. "Is that really you?" I turned and saw Samantha in a low-cut dress, a sparkling necklace around her neck, identical to the one Emily was wearing. My brows furrowed. Just as I was about to speak, Emily cheerfully said, "Samantha, you're here to buy flowers again? You two know each other?" I asked, startled. Emily let go of me and pulled Samantha into the shop, chatting as they walked. "Yes, she's a regular customer, she often comes here to buy flowers. She once told me her boss is very romantic, always giving flowers. I even wondered what kind of man he might be. Turns out he's from your company too." I glanced sharply at Samantha. While Emily turned away, I discreetly pointed at the necklace on her neck. Her eyes flickered nervously, and she shook her head slightly in grievance. Rage surged within me. I had warned her never to let my wife find out, yet she still disobeyed. Emily turned back, noticing my dark expression. "What's wrong? Are you okay?" "No, nothing. Maybe it's just because I haven't eaten dinner yet," I replied quickly. "Then let me finish this order for your colleague, and we'll close up and go eat," she said warmly. Then she looked at Samantha again. "Same as last time, right? But it's so late now, are you buying flowers to give to your boss?" As she finished speaking, she cast me a subtle glance. I pretended to look elsewhere. Samantha replied softly, "No, not at all, ma'am. I'm buying them for my boyfriend. Today marks our 100th day together. He gave me this necklace, and I want to give him flowers in return. He doesn't like expensive gifts, so I thought giving him a bouquet would be just right. Do you know what kind of flowers guys usually like, ma'am? Samantha asked. All evening, only 3 words echoed in my mind: her boyfriend. When I sat down to dinner with Emily, I had no appetite at all. She noticed my unusual mood and leaned in to ask softly, Daniel, what's wrong with you today? You're not usually like this. Could it be because of that girl from your company? No, I answered quickly. There are hundreds of employees in the company. I don't even remember which department she's in. I only worry that you might dislike being put in the spotlight. All these years, I've always tried to keep you well protected, away from prying eyes. Today, since we got noticed, I was afraid people would gossip and bother you. Emily smiled and shook her head. So that's what it is. It's true I prefer a quiet life. But with you being so famous now, being recognized is only a matter of time. Unless you don't want people to know about me? Of course not. You know I've long wanted to bring you to every event with me, it's just that. Alright then, eat up. Didn't you just say you were so hungry it made you irritable? She teased, ending the topic. I forced myself to push aside the chaos in my heart, reminding myself not to let Emily see my turmoil over another woman. Near the end of dinner, Emily came back from the restroom and said quietly, Danny, I just looked in the mirror and realized, the necklace you gave me, it's exactly the same as the one your colleague was wearing. My heart clenched. I scrambled for an excuse. The store told me it was a limited edition. I didn't expect they'd trick me. Why don't we return it? I'll buy you a different one. But Emily's eyes sparkled as her lips curved into a smile. There's no need. If you like it, then I like it too. So what if it looks the same? Nothing to worry about. For the rest of the meal, I couldn't taste a thing. That night, when it came to our usual intimacy, I found myself completely out of the mood. Instead, I just held her tightly and murmured an apology. Work has been overwhelming lately. I'm exhausted. She wrapped her arms around my waist, pressing her face against my chest, and comforted me gently. It's okay. Oh, by the way, Daniel, when will you take a vacation? It's been so long since we traveled together. I want us to go. Before her words had even finished, the phone on the nightstand suddenly buzzed violently, that special ringtone blaring, the one I had set only for Samantha. I quickly pushed Emily aside and grabbed the phone. It might be something work-related. Let me check. Answering the call, I was startled to hear a man's voice. Hello, are you the emergency contact for this young lady? She passed out drunk at a bar, and you were the first number listed. I rushed to put on my clothes. Alright, wait for me. I'll be right there. Walking out the door and sliding into the car, I suddenly remembered I hadn't given Emily any explanation. I looked up and caught sight of her standing on the second-floor balcony. A breeze swept past, tossing her hair across her face, hiding her eyes. She only raised her hand to wave faintly at me. I didn't think much more of it, just pressed down on the accelerator and drove away. That night, furious over Samantha getting drunk at the bar, I vented all of my desire onto her. Didn't you say you had a boyfriend? HM? Then why didn't he come to pick you up? Why call me instead? Do you even realize what I was doing? Come on, tell me. I know your tolerance, you're not the type to get this wasted. Strange, isn't it? With Emily, I can never seem to summon much passion. But with Samantha, my energy never runs dry. She clung tightly to me, breathing heavily, spilling out words dripping with jealous madness. Danny, just thinking about you being with her makes me so jealous I could go insane. Promise me you won't touch her anymore, please? For a moment, I hesitated. I started reflecting on myself. Emily and I had been in love for over 10 years. I knew clearly, I could never leave her. No one could ever replace her. That moment of hesitation came only because I hadn't yet been entangled with Samantha long enough. The thrill of sneaking around behind Emily's back hadn't worn off yet. So I decided I would take Samantha far away, spend a few days together without restraint. I believed that if I faced her day in and day out, morning to night, I would eventually get tired of her. Because deep in my heart, the only woman I truly loved was always Emily. With that thought, I booked the tickets and messaged Emily. Something urgent came up, I need to go on a business trip. She asked, how many days? My birthday's coming soon. Do you still remember? I replied, yeah, not sure yet. Emily smiled gently. It's fine. There's a birthday every year. Missing one doesn't matter. Your career is more important, I'll wait for you at home. Hearing those words, guilt pressed heavier on my chest. It felt like I loved my wife even more. Before hanging up, I reassured her. This time in Chicago. Whatever you want, just tell me, and I'll bring it back. After settling work matters, Samantha and I flew to Las Vegas. It was the very place Emily had mentioned many times, always wishing she could visit one day. I told myself I was just scouting it out in advance, and later, when I had more time, I'd bring her here. Samantha and I lived like an ordinary couple. By day, we admired the sights, by night, we tangled ourselves together in the grand hotel bed, indulging in every kind of wild passion. In our most feverish moments, she clung to me tightly, whispering over and over. Danny, promise me, when we return, don't touch her anymore. In the haze of lust, I often agreed without thinking. But once sober, I knew those were nothing but empty words. We drifted around for nearly 2 weeks, until one of my subordinates informed me that a new investor wanted to meet. Only then was I forced to return. On the last night there, holding Samantha in my arms, I began reflecting on the past 2 weeks. To be honest, aside from eating and sightseeing, most of the time we just stayed tangled up in bed. And truthfully, I was starting to feel fed up. She wasn't like Emily. She couldn't hold deep conversations with me, couldn't share the things that weighed on my mind. I couldn't possibly ask my assistant what she thought about the future of the company. Every now and then, when I was busy handling work, I'd hand her a few small tasks. But the results rarely satisfied me. That's when it hit me, she'd been working at my company for all this time, yet had never truly shouldered any real responsibility. Back when I was drunk on desire, her incompetence didn't bother me. But now that my emotions had settled and my head was clearer, I looked down at the woman in my arms and suddenly asked. If I were penniless, would you still like me? She froze, staring blankly. Danny, why would you ask something like that? She didn't give a direct answer, but the meaning in her words was clear enough, the answer was no. I gave a faint, self-mocking smile. Nothing, just asking. Then I rolled out of bed and stepped into the bathroom. Turning on the faucet, I suddenly felt the urge to call Emily. For the past 2 weeks, I had used the excuse of a demanding client not to answer her calls, sending only the occasional text. But at that moment, I suddenly missed her. I thought back to those nights when the two of us lay squeezed together on a narrow bed in a rented apartment, her arms around me, softly comforting me. It's all right, Daniel. Even if you fail this time, I will never abandon you. The phone rang for a long time, no one picked up. Emily had always struggled with insomnia. It was only 10 p.m., how could she already be asleep? Unwilling to give up, I dialed again. Still no answer. Didn't she hear it? Anxious, I fired off a message. Emily, what are you doing? I'm coming back tomorrow. I'll bring you some local specialties from here. When I came back from the shower, there was still no reply. A deep sense of unease rose within me. Holding the phone, I didn't even know who I should call. I hated myself. For the past 2 weeks, I had hidden behind the excuse of a difficult client to avoid her calls, sending only a handful of perfunctory messages. Her last texts from days ago still lingered, she had asked when I was coming home. A wave of panic crashed over me. In a frenzy, I called the local police precinct near our neighborhood. While waiting for a response, I paced back and forth across the hotel room, my chest heavy as stone. Samantha walked over, trying to press herself against me. But I shoved her away. Not now. I'm in no mood. I can't reach my wife, no matter how many times I call. She shrugged and tossed out a careless remark. You mean my wife, the florist? She's a grown woman. How could she possibly go missing? I whipped my head around and glared at Samantha, my eyes burning into her. Only then did she realize her slip of the tongue. Flustered, she stammered. Danny, maybe she just stepped out to the shop and didn't check her phone. I frowned, my voice heavy. It's already 10 p.m. You've gone there often enough, you know very well her store closes at 9. As the words left my mouth, a wave of unease struck me. I grabbed her shoulders, pressing harder. Out of all the flower shops, why do you always have to go to my wife's? You did it on purpose, didn't you? Ah, Danny, you're hurting me. Her eyes welled with tears, shimmering. I let go, but my stare never softened. Didn't I rent your apartment near there? What a coincidence, right? But Emily's shop is the biggest, with the best designs and taste, that's why I chose it. Indeed, Emily's aesthetic sense had always been impeccable. Just last year, she told me someone wanted to invest and turn her store into a chain of high-end flower boutiques. I refused. If it became a brand, she would be buried in work. In a family, only one person needed to shoulder the weight of a career. We weren't short on money anyway. Soon after, my phone rang. It was Emily. I answered in a rush. Sweetheart, where have you been? Oh, I just went for a walk without my phone. You even called the police? I already explained to them and told them to leave. Emily, you scared me half to death. I stepped out onto the balcony, planning to finally confess how much I had missed her during these 2 weeks apart. But she only said softly, I'm a little tired. Let's talk tomorrow when you're back. Before I could say more, she hung up. Danny, are you really going to reassign me to Mr. Young's project group? Samantha's trembling voice cut in. I rubbed my temples, exhausted. You'll go with them on a business trip for a while. And Samantha, from now on, you should start addressing me as Mr. Anderson. She clutched at my hand desperately. Did I say something wrong? Or do something to upset you? I pulled my hand free from her grip. No. But if you're going to work in this company, you need to actually learn something. Even if you leave someday, no one should be able to say you only lived off me without lifting a finger. Samantha's eyes reddened with tears. She turned away, her voice trembling. I understand, Mr. Anderson. The plane landed, and I headed straight back to the company. On the way, I tried calling Emily, but she didn't pick up. I assumed she was still asleep. So instead, I called a familiar boutique and ordered a limited edition jewelry set, asking them to deliver it directly to her. Back at work, I arranged for Samantha to be transferred into Mr. Young's project group as an assistant. He chuckled and teased. I thought you worked pretty well with that assistant of yours. Why suddenly let her go? I shot him a sharp look. She graduated from a prestigious school. At the very least, working at my company, she should learn some real skills. The girl's not dumb, just make sure to teach her properly. Fine, he said, but I'm strict. Don't come to me feeling sorry for her later. Don't talk nonsense. Mr. Young was one of the most senior figures in the company, and also very close to both me and Emily. There was no way I could ever let him know about my relationship with Samantha. If word ever got out, it would eventually reach Emily. After work, I rushed to Emily's flower shop, carrying the local specialties I'd picked up at the airport along with the jewelry set I had ordered. But inside the shop, aside from a few employees, she was nowhere to be seen. I casually pulled one of the girls aside and asked, "Where's your boss?" She looked at me with suspicion. "And who are you to be asking about our boss?" Clearly a new hire, her attitude was less than polite. The others were busy with customers, so I didn't press further and drove straight home. The house was dark. I called out a few times, but no one answered. The lights were off, her phone silent. "Are you angry at me for being so busy lately, for not paying enough attention to you?" I reached out to hold her, but she subtly shifted away. My hand froze midair, my chest tightening painfully. Her hoarse voice broke the silence. "That woman, do you really like her that much? Why would you say that?" I was stunned. She turned, the moonlight streaming through the window, glinting off her tear-reddened eyes. I forced a laugh. "What are you talking about?" She gave a faint, bitter smile and lifted her phone. The glow of the screen lit up her exhausted face. She opened a chat window with Samantha. My heartbeat quickened with every motion. That secret of mine, it felt like it was about to be exposed. I blurted out. "She's just an employee. Why are you even looking at that?" In my memory, I couldn't recall Samantha sending me anything incriminating. But I still feared she might have secretly contacted Emily. The chat history ended 2 weeks ago. The only thing Samantha had asked was whether Emily was at the flower shop. Relief washed over me, and I almost relaxed. But then, in the very next second, Emily opened Samantha's social feed and tapped on a photo. It was a selfie, Samantha, wrapped in a towel, leaning against my back. My heart went ice cold. When was this taken? When was it posted? And how did I never know? Emily thrust the phone in front of me. "This isn't you? Why are you with her?" The image only showed a blurred silhouette of my back, my face wasn't visible. I quickly denied it. How could that possibly be me? "Emily, you can't accuse me like this." She gave a cold laugh. "Not admitting it? Fine." She kept scrolling. It turned out Samantha posted to her social feed every day. 3 posts of landscapes, 3 posts of hotels. Sometimes it was pictures of herself, other times, in the corner of the frame, my silhouette would faintly appear. Only, she had blocked me, so I never knew. Cold sweat broke across my forehead, but I still forced myself to deny it. "Emily, you don't actually believe that man in the picture is me, do you? How could it be? Why would I pay attention to some fresh graduate with nothing to her name? What could I possibly gain from her?" "Yes," Emily snapped back, "what did you gain from her? Just because she looked a little like me when I was young?" Her sudden, razor-sharp gaze made me flinch. "Emily, don't say nonsense. We've been together so many years." I struggled, still trying to argue. Besides, it was just a photo of someone's back. How can you be sure it's me? I knew I was only grasping at straws. Emily whispered. "Do you even know how many moles are on your back? Maybe not even you remember." My heart dropped. She was right, I had never paid attention. Sweat dampened my palms, but I still pretended to be shocked. But that still doesn't prove anything. Maybe she edited the picture. Inside, I cursed Samantha countless times. Girls these days, so cunning. Pretending to be obedient in front of me, but secretly posting pictures behind my back, even cleverly blocking me so I wouldn't see. Ridiculous, I had no idea she had already revealed so much evidence. I tried one last defense. "Emily, don't you know me by now? For years, countless women have tried to get close to me, some even approached you directly. But I've never once wavered. In my heart, from beginning to end, there has only ever been you." I felt her trembling in my arms. I pulled her close, lowering my voice, pleading. "Emily, don't let someone insignificant destroy the love we've built for so many years, please." She broke into tears. She so rarely cried that I couldn't even remember the last time I'd seen it. I patted her back gently, coaxing. "Tomorrow, I'll have HR fire her. A scheming woman like that absolutely cannot stay by my side." Smack. A stinging slap landed across my face like lightning. Stunned, I clutched my cheek, staring at Emily in disbelief. Daniel Anderson, she said through clenched teeth, do you even realize? She's pregnant, with your child. That's impossible, I muttered, my mind blank. Emily unlocked her phone again and shoved it toward me. On the screen was Samantha's latest post, a photo of a pregnancy test report. The date was today. I had just arranged for her to be transferred into Mr. Young's project group, yet immediately, she played this card. But the truth was, I couldn't have children. Which meant there were only two possibilities, either that report was fake, or she had secretly been with another man. My fists clenched, slamming down hard on the bed. That woman, she dared to deceive me. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. I turned quickly toward Emily, praying she hadn't heard. But she had already risen to her feet, and struck me with another slap. So you really are the so-called secret boyfriend she never revealed. Daniel Anderson, she said coldly, I want a divorce. Panic surged through me. The situation was already spiraling out of control. Emily was too smart, she knew that whatever I said now would only sound like excuses. I immediately dropped to my knees. At this moment, the only way was to admit fault, under no circumstance could I allow divorce. No, Emily, I was wrong. My love, it was just a moment of weakness. Please, think of our years together, just forgive me this once. I promise you, between me and her, there could never be a child. Emily's body trembled. I tried to embrace her, but she stepped away firmly. My wife, it was only one time with her, truly, just once. It's not what you think. This whole boyfriend nonsense, it doesn't exist. My heart was in chaos, and my words grew more and more desperate. The mistake was already laid bare, all I could do was try to minimize the damage. I even resorted to punishing myself, slapping my own face, hoping the pain might move her heart. In the past, she always worried about my health. But now, even after I struck myself 10 times, my cheeks stinging and swollen, legs numb from kneeling, she only watched coldly without stopping me. At last, her tears subsided. She switched on the small lamp, opened the drawer, and pulled out a document she had prepared long before, a divorce agreement. She placed it firmly into my hands. Tonight, I plan to give you one last chance. But you confessed before I even asked. Daniel, you betrayed yourself. No, I didn't. My wife, it was only once. Please. Her reddened eyes looked straight into me, piercing to my soul. Daniel, I know you better than anyone. This is the divorce agreement. The assets after marriage will be split evenly, half for you, half for me. If you're not satisfied, we can still discuss. I had never once considered divorce. But seeing Emily's pain, her forced strength, my own heart twisted sharply. Divorce? Never. Everything I own is yours. If you're not reassured, tomorrow I'll have legal draft the papers, transferring every last cent under your name, unconditionally. Emily didn't nod. I could see she was hesitating. The company had been founded before our marriage, so strictly speaking, much of its equity wasn't marital property. But at that moment, none of that mattered to me, I only wanted to hold on to her. I wasn't like other successful men who, once wealthy, tossed aside the wife who had endured hardship with them. I might have been foolish, but the woman who had struggled with me from the very beginning, the one I truly loved, was only Emily. No, I'll call legal right now. Emily, please, trust me. I stood, walked into the living room, and picked up my phone. On the screen were several missed calls, all from Samantha. The anger already choking me flared even hotter. She dares call me at a time like this? I immediately called HR, prepare Samantha's termination paperwork for tomorrow. They asked for a reason. She keeps making mistakes. I'm completely dissatisfied. What kind of degree did she even graduate with, to perform this poorly? After that, I dialed legal. Thankfully, they hadn't left for the night, they were still working with our investors. Transfer all my shares into my wife Emily's name. Yes, all of them. As for the investor negotiations, I'll handle them personally. My wife is far more capable at management than I am, she just prefers to stay out of the public eye. When I hung up, Unease still gnawed at me. I didn't know if doing all this would be enough for Emily to forgive me. As for Samantha, I needed to make sure this problem disappeared completely. I typed out a long message to her, but before I could send it, legal called me back. Mr. Anderson, the investors have just responded, they want to meet with your wife Emily. Does she have time tomorrow? I froze. I had meant the transfer as a gesture of sincerity. If it made the investors pull out, I was willing to accept it. But Emily, would she? Mr. Anderson, you know how crucial this funding is for the company. And you just gave that interview to Finance Weekly, talking about wanting to take the company public. If the capital falls through now, then I'll go, Emily's voice cut in. At some point, she had stepped out of the bedroom. In that instant, my chest filled with overwhelming gratitude. No matter the situation, she always thought of me first. All right, I said, tomorrow I'll take my wife to meet the investors. Emily quietly folded away the divorce papers. That night, I slept in the guest room. Samantha sent me dozens of voice messages, but I didn't bother to listen. I dragged her straight into the blocked list. That woman, dreaming she could replace Emily and climb up. She was only after what I had built. There were times she lay in my arms, painting fantasies of a child we might have together. But if I said I wanted to live a life without children, would Samantha ever accept that, the way Emily did? Or if one day I, Daniel Anderson, lost everything and went back to being penniless, would she still stay with me? The answer, of course, was no. I was painfully clear-headed. That night, I barely slept at all. Memories flooded back. Back in college, Emily had been the most stunning woman on campus. The very first person who wanted to pursue her was my roommate, Benjamin Carter. But I used a few tricks to win her over for myself. And time proved that my instincts were right. Emily wasn't only beautiful, she was gentle, capable, and devoted entirely to me. Back then, when I casually talked about starting a business, they were nothing but vague ideas. I didn't even take them seriously. It was Emily who insisted, who encouraged me, who stood firmly behind me. When the company went through 2 major crises, I had wanted to give up more than once. But Emily stayed up countless nights, drafting fundraising proposals, writing presentations, preparing everything so I could face the investors. Out there, everyone believed my success was built by me. But only Emily and I knew, without her, I never would have made it to today. And yet, over the years, I somehow forgot that I was once the luckiest man alive. Now, more than ever, I was certain, I could not lose Emily. The next morning, with heavy dark circles under my eyes, I saw Emily already dressed and made up. She almost never bothered with appearance, but today she was completely different. She looked at my tired face, dabbed concealer on me gently, and said, "You're meeting investors. You should at least look presentable." Her tone was cold, but I knew, she still cared. At the office, the first thing I did was instruct legal to draft the share transfer documents. I added a special clause: all shares, regardless of whether the marriage remains or ends, will belong entirely to Emily. I was willing to give them up. The lawyers double-checked with me several times. I nodded, then turned to Emily. Her face had softened, gentler now, no longer carrying last night's anguish and despair. I thought to myself, this step, finally, is the right one. At least I haven't lost her yet. Once the paperwork was signed, the investors arrived. To my shock, the man behind them was none other than Benjamin Carter. I immediately spoke. "Cancel this deal." The entire room froze in disbelief. "Mr. Anderson, what are you saying? Without this investment, our capital chain will break. The company will." I didn't care. The only thing I wanted was to keep Benjamin Carter from having any more opportunities to get close to Emily. I knew full well, he outshone me in every way. Years ago, he had even gone to Emily himself, trying to clear up the misunderstandings between them. But back then, Emily was already mine. Now, however, cracks had formed between us. I couldn't allow him the chance to slip in. I ordered security to escort them out. But to my shock, Emily stood up. Right now, I'm the majority shareholder of this company. The investment decision is mine. Mr. Carter, let's continue this discussion in another meeting room. I stared at her, stunned, stammering. Emily. She didn't look back. She simply walked away with Benjamin, chatting easily, like old friends reunited. That day, I was locked in the conference room by my own company's security. They even confiscated my phone, afraid I might cause a scene. By the time the meeting ended, no doubt with the investment agreement signed, I was finally released. From beginning to end, Benjamin Carter never once glanced at me. Only as he was leaving did he throw out one cold sentence. Daniel, just wait and see who has the last laugh. From that day on, I was officially pushed out of the company. Emily said she needed time to familiarize herself with operations, and moved into the corporate apartments reserved for single executives. I tried visiting her many times, but she refused to see me. In desperation, I called Mr. Young, the one colleague both Emily and I trusted. He was away leading a project team, but the moment he answered, he lashed out at me. Daniel Anderson, I never thought you'd sink so low. For your own selfishness, you nearly dragged the entire company into ruin. Do you have any idea, without that investment, my whole team would have collapsed, the project destroyed? Could you ever pay back the damage? I regretted deeply. I should have insisted years ago that Emily officially join the company from the very beginning. I called him again, but he never picked up after that. Perhaps I really was nothing more than a drowning man, clutching at straws. In truth, Emily was measured. Whatever connection she had with Benjamin Carter, it was surely only professional. Nothing more. They couldn't. I had to believe in her, the same way she once unwaveringly believed in me. 1 month later, while I was sprawled uselessly at home, unemployed and idle, I received a call from Emily's lawyer. Ms. Emily Anderson has decided to file for divorce. I was dumbstruck. Why? The other party answered calmly. She has provided sufficient evidence of your infidelity. Given the current circumstances, the case is unfavorable for you. Mr. Anderson, I suggest you prepare yourself for concessions.